Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I hear you perfectly. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Awesome.
Well, I'll start off with introducing myself and say hello. I am Willie Whitaker, the host of the Willie Whitaker Wellness Podcast. Can you introduce yourself for our listeners?
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Melody, Melody McGuire to be exact. Many people know me as ECE with Miss Melody. For the past 20 years, I have been growing as an early childhood educator, and I have a lot to still continue to learn. But at this moment in my walk as an early childhood educator, I'm getting to meet other people, inspire them. They motivate me, share their stories each and every day on the Early Childhood Educators Circle Time. That is a group that is held on Clubhouse, and now it is also a podcast. People get to go back and listen to the conversations that I have with other early childhood educators. And so that is who I am, really. I'm just a person who loves early childhood education, and I'm loving meeting and expanding and sharing the stories of other early childhood educators. Been serving. Coming into early childhood, it was a mistake. It was not something that I planned, but it has been such a wonderful journey, and I'm looking forward to share that with you. I've held a variety of positions, from being a substitute to an assistant teacher to a lead teacher to a master teacher, administratively, worked in consulting, worked in advising, worked as an adjunct instructor. But the thing that I love most now about my walk and my experience as an early childhood educator is to see so many lives being changed, especially the people who are educators but knowing what's going on in their community. So my name is Melody, early childhood educator who loves to listen and inspire other early childhood educators, parents, and everyone else.
I think I first saw you on Clubhouse. I'm new to Clubhouse. It was funny because once I started hosting the podcast, I didn't want to, but my daughters were suggested that I go ahead and host it. I normally just play music on our podcast, and like I said, they were the host. So when I started hosting, it's like I'm more of an introverted person, so I kind of like to be behind and do the social media part of it and blog about things. And it's funny because when I've had, you let people listen to the podcast and people were like, you have to put some type of life in your voice. I think that if I was to try that, it wouldn't come off as genuine. So when I saw you, I said, wow. I said, that's what they mean, right? And I hear your voice and you sound so excited about what you're doing. But the thing is that you're genuine with it. That's why I said I think I'll do better having people that do that on the podcast. You understand, if that makes sense? Because I just want to be myself. I can ask questions, but I want to be genuine. I don't want to come on because that's the funny part. If I was to come on and sound and talk different, everybody would say, wow, he's so fake.
Right. It's authentic self.
Exactly.
I was saying that it's more of being your most authentic self. If you came onto your podcast in the likeness of another person outside of Willie, then it wouldn't be effective. Like, you wouldn't be fulfilled. And that's a part of one of the things that I love about the Early Childhood Educator Circle Time. I feel a fulfillment. And like when you're called and you have this idea, like with what you've done with your family and how you helped your daughter, she's more on the side helping you with being strategic in your delivery. But what you were able to create and still sustain is what you're doing, and that is just providing a platform. So I think it's really dope the way that you do it, and I'm inspired. So thank you for sharing that with me. Like, show up as you, sit back and relax and put that into place, because the way that you present and the way that you are allows the other person to show up as their most best and authentic self, and I think it's awesome.
Thank you. I actually saw it on Spotify as well. I saw I looked at some of it. I homeschool, and that was one of my questions. Are you homeschool, or you're sometimes where you're talking with your kids on the videos? Are those are your kids, or are those your students?
Oh, they mine, and I'm a stick beside them.
Yeah, so because that's what I homeschooled. Like you said, I really didn't start off as an educator. I was a driver, and I'm born in Washington, D.C., and I moved to Maryland, but I was a driver for the Library of Congress, and then I was a driver for, Department of Homeland Security first, and then Library of Congress. But when we moved to North Carolina, I started homeschooling my daughters in 2012, and they more use like online systems and different things like that. But I know that why I wanted to connect is because I know with COVID and different things, I know that speaking with you will help a lot of people that I know with, even if they may go back, but they still have the virtual option. And a lot of people kind of struggle with helping kids with their homeschooling. And the early setting is more what, puts the structure in. So I think the method that you start with is the way people would need to try to help their kids on the most basic level, and they can get, well, in my opinion, they can get the tutoring for the higher, but you would have to learn the structure from kind of the way that you teach it. And that's why I wanted to connect and just get your advice out there, because like I said, I did homeschooling, but it was more, I let my kids I went through the process of unschooling and teaching them kind of not to be on a schedule and finding out what their favorite things were. And then I kind of let them put in place their own lesson plans through online different platforms. And that's what I wanted to. I wouldn't get into that with you on this call because I would want you to be, prepared. But like I said, the first call was just I wanted you to introduce yourself kind of to my circle of people. And what my next question was how can everyone support you? What ways can they support you? Where can they find your links and different ways to support what you do?
Oh, wow. So I am completely honored and thrown for a loop on the reason why you connected with me, and I appreciate you for that. Yeah, the children that you see, they mine, and I'm going to stick beside them. The ones you hear, those students, mine, I'm going to stick beside them. But in the midst of that, I'm learning to unschool. Though I've been working in the field of early childhood education, primarily during the day, majority of my time with children between the ages of 6 weeks to 5 during the day, and then before and after school programs, having children up to about 13, being in those spaces. Being a parent who's transitioning, even with educational experience, is different. And what I've learned as an early childhood educator is that as a parent, the first person that you have to show up for and be available for is yourself, and then with the children. So that's why it for most people it becomes, coming into my space is very unorthodox, where you have to sit there and you have to look at it, because that's how it should be with your child. Like that, this is my child. I've created it, and I'm gonna stick beside it. But it got some of your DNA, and it got some of the other ones. So what you see and what I see when I look at my children is the best of both worlds. And in the midst of the best of both worlds, the things that I know that as a parent I can help cultivate. And I tell others that, as parents, we are our children's first primary and forever teachers. Even my mother, in her age, is still yet teaching me because we're still walking this life together. But how it's working for me with those two that you hear on the podcast, and I intentionally decided not to take it out or cut it out. Just you get what you get, and don't pitch a fit, but so that others can see the dynamic. And I've shared plenty of times that children deserve the same respect, the same honor as we as adults. They are no different than us except for we are fiscally responsible for them, legally responsible for them, and we have more experience than them, as far as this life. But if your child is the best of you at that moment when they were conceived, then appreciate it and nurture them, because that's your gift to the world, not to overshadow them because they have their own thoughts, just like you have your own thoughts, and they have their own desires. But we as parents are to just walk along beside them as we would want someone to be walking along the side of us. Yeah. So that is where I'm at. I'm transitioning with the homeschooling too, because for all of their primarily early childhood experience in a child care setting, I was there every day. I had the benefit of being there with my children. So when it came to the places that I worked or the people that I connected with, I pushed excellence and the best that I could give, because if I was at home, I would want the same experience for them. And I believe that's where the beautiful part of and the challenging professional part goes with for me, is that I look at and I don't mind looking back and assessing what I've done or what I did in order to make sure that they have the better opportunity. I've lived my life, but as a parent, it is my responsibility to ensure that their lives are better because of the life that I lived and because I gave them life.
Yeah. And I enjoy watching. That's part of what I like the most, was that to me it feels like that's what I was saying. It's a genuine setting, and it's nothing about against any way anybody else do it. Like, because I know people try to make everything a competition. It's not about a competition. I just, like I was saying, it's with the way you would do that. Because I speak to other people, and it's just that the reason why I connected with yours was that I felt like some of the people that were going to be new to doing it would want to see the way that you run your podcast. I think it would be interesting to some of the people that are looking at going into child care or, like I said, just parenting, period. Because a lot of people, since everything happened, are, now where people weren't thinking about homeschooling before, it's like even though things are beginning to open back up, a lot of people are actually questioning, and they may think about homeschooling. I said, this person, she would be perfect to kind of help guide people through that. Because like I said, my reasoning was different. When I homeschooled, my reasoning was both of my girls were asthmatics, and so I ended up having to pull them out of school due to they were missing too many days, and kind of, as you get older, where you can get away with it when they were younger, but when they got older, they were kind of running into problems where, you're missing too much work. So I went on and decided to pull them out in 2012 and did the homeschool thing. And I actually didn't even, I was maybe thinking like as they got older, if they grew out of their asthma, I would put them back. But I noticed how well they were doing, so I just kept them from homeschool. Now they're 20 and 18 now, so it actually turned out to be a great experience. Did you want to leave your link?
If you want to find or directly connect with me on social media, on any platform, if you were to type in ECE, Circle Time, as one word. ECE stands for Early Childhood Educator, Early Childhood Education. But as a hashtag, ECE Circle Time or ECE with Miss Melody, spelled completely out, WITHMSMELODY, you would find me. The way that anybody could help me to continue to help serving others, definitely like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that. Again, like, share, subscribe, comment, save it, save the post, share it with your friends and family. That is what would definitely help. But also continue to stay tapped in. The Early Childhood Education Circle Time does have an app that is coming out. Also, we have the podcast, because every day the content or the share, the conversation, however you would like to call it, it happens daily and it happens fresh. So I don't have, and this is intentional, I don't batch, BATCH, I don't batch any content. You get what you get that day. And that is for me to be in my most authentic space. But there are things and ideas that are planned, but what I shared that just, hey, good morning, hello world, what's going on? What did you dream about last night? Well, let's talk about it. Or you know, what did you get this morning? Let's talk about it. So for those who want to connect, I read children's stories. Like, we have adults who come and listen to me read a children's story.
So I listened to this the other day. I was listening to Spotify.
Yes, you may actually end up listening to an entire children's story. So it's just, I look forward to talking with you, sharing with even how the Early Childhood Educators Circle Time came about, was because I went onto Clubhouse. Prior to starting Clubhouse, I had this series called Bedtime Soul Stories, Bedtime Soul, SOUL, Bedtime Soul Stories. And so come on either Facebook Live or Zoom and read a children's story, just the same way as I talk to adults, but in a level for younger children. Same guidelines, same way. But I end up seeing that there were early childhood educators that didn't do things how I did. I'm not saying my way is to be all in all, but when someone asks, what do you do? And I explained, they wanted to see, and I shared. And I'm going to stick beside them.
Yeah. And like I said, I really enjoyed the page. I drop into both. I was listening on Spotify, but I try to drop into the Clubhouse as well. I like to see where people when people are enjoying themselves. That's the biggest thing. And I know that other people can learn better when they're learning from someone that's enjoying what they're doing. That's why I like it so much. And like I said, and I won't take up too much more of your time. I'll just ask, before I let you go, can you leave the listeners with something motivational or encouraging?
Ooh. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Because of why you called me, I'll say this. We are not failing our youth or our community. You're not failing your children. You're not. By you being present and by you having your child, that particular child that you had, that you created, being a parent is a part of your purpose. So each and every day, in order to show up for your child, in order to know what they have, in order to have academic excellence, moral focus, even a partnership with your child, take responsibility and begin to write your own rules. Because in the midst of you knowing and me sharing with you as parents, none of us have ever been in this pandemic before. None of the people who are alive who may have been in a pandemic were in position to make decisions in order to make change. And because there's no difference between, except for you being your child's parent, but them being a human that you are responsible for, you're not failing them. And all we have to do is continue to show up and doing what's best for your child, even if it is structured learning in the public system, private school sector, and or at home with you. Even with them being at home with you, if you're not getting your quote-unquote checklist done, that's okay, because the only thing that's going to matter at the end of the day is if you are able to check off that I spent time with my child, that I love my child, and I affirmed them. That's all that matters. Everything else doesn't matter. No one asks you, really, when did you start learning to read? That's not on the job application or a part of the credentials for even if you want to become an entrepreneur. I don't have to learn how to read. I get somebody who can read for me that I trust. But in order to feel that trust, in order to know that it is there, we as parents be devoted, be loyal, be true to who you are, take care of you, and as you show up each and every morning, your children will show up. And that's all I have to say.
All right, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate you taking time out and calling in. And hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yes, anytime.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I'll definitely be dropping in to your clubhouse, and I'll be checking you out on YouTube and Spotify.
Yes, please do. Please, stay connected. Soon in September, we'll be running a television show on the PIC TV network. So anybody who has a Roku TV or get the Roku streaming stick, you'll be able to see not only myself live, but meeting other parents and other educators who are making a difference in their children's lives. So the ECE Circle Time is on audio, on IG, and will also be on your television show.
That's awesome. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate everything you do. And that was it for now. Like I said, hopefully talk to you again real soon.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.